Welcome to this edition of Soul of Warren County. I'm your host, Mickey Gwynn. Warren County has long been a hotbed of baseball talent. From Lester Strode to Cat Walker to Gary Cope, and even some of the old members of the Mcmillan Rockets used to be thought to be good enough to have made it to the major leagues. Well, in studio with me today is someone who definitely belongs on that list. He had a stellar career at Warren County High School, went on to star at Shelby State, and was drafted by the Texas Rangers in 1991. After his professional career, his life sort of came full circle. He came back home, and he's now a very successful coach for the Lady Pioneers softball team. Please welcome in studio today, Jerry Gooby Martin. Welcome to Soul of Warren County.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Now, we're going to start out with the nickname. Where did Gooby come from?
Well, the story I get from my parents, my mom, is they were at a family function. Somebody said the name Gooby, and it stuck. That's it. Nothing special, nothing crazy. Somebody yelled it out to me, and it stuck, and I've been Gooby since then.
You know, you sound sort of like me. I tell sort of a similar story with me. My real first name is James. I've been called Mickey my whole life. And in trying to find out, even from my dad before he passed away, where did Mickey come from? He never was able to give me an answer. My mom said one day he came home when you were a baby and said, "How's little Mickey doing today?" So I tell people I don't know if I look like a mouse or what it was that reason that Mickey came from, but I've been Mickey my whole life too, but that's not my real name. People even say, "Oh, your real name must be Michael." No, it ain't Michael either. It's just my dad started calling me Mickey. Tell us a little bit about growing up in Mcmillan back in the day.
I was born and raised here. I was a wild child, I had full of energy, so I just like to play sports. So when I was young, any kind of ball I played. I grew up playing football, basketball, baseball, and just fell in love with the sports and the competition and the friends, the camaraderie. And I guess ever since I was probably 9 or 10, I just loved it and wanted to be a part of it in any way I could. So, I put in the work and the dedication, and was fortunate to be halfway decent athlete, and got to, go to college and play a little professional ball and just do some things that I really wanted to do and that I really enjoyed.
Now, high school, you played baseball and basketball.
Right, and I played football to my sophomore year.
Your sophomore year.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got hit a couple times. I ain't the size now I was then. I was about 130 then.
Neither am I.
So, I played football up to my sophomore year, and I played baseball and basketball all, back then it was 3 years of high school. 'Cause we went to school 10, 11, 12. So, I just played everything.
Was there a point in high school where you said, or did someone say to you, baseball is the way you need to go? Or did you just sort of like baseball better than all the other?
Well, I think, I liked basketball.
Oh, okay.
First of all, because it was inside.
Right.
And, the weather was never an issue. But
Right.
I love basketball. But, I was a 6'2", 6'3" post. And, 6'3" posts don't make it anywhere.
Right.
But
right.
I knew I was really good at baseball. The story that I tell some of my players is when I was 12, we were playing traveling baseball. And I remember just real being hot, and we were getting beat pretty bad. And I was playing shortstop at the time. It was a ball hitting the gap. I dive for it, make a play, throw the run out at first base. I thought it was just a routine play. And then after the game, the St. Louis Cardinal scout was there.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, "Hey, can I have your information, your name and number and stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I just remember him telling me, your team was getting beat pretty bad, but you were still playing hard. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time that, in my life that I thought, I was halfway decent, but, playing hard pays off. Like I said, just that extra effort got him a look for me. And to make a long story short, I was 11 or 12 then. Mm-hmm. In my senior year in high school, an actual scout came to watch me play, here in high school. So, I guess baseball I knew was, the ticket that I was best at. And so, then, I fell in love with baseball also.
So you sort of had that talent early on, but as you got a little bit older, you sort of gravitated toward what you thought was the best for baseball. And it seems like, and I talked to Lester Strode when I had him in the studio. It seems like, especially over the last I'd say maybe 20 years, a lot of black kids don't gravitate toward baseball as much. It seems like they either go basketball or football for whatever reasons. But you went ahead, you knew where that talent lay was in baseball then.
Yeah, I had a good arm. I was a pitcher.
Yeah.
I could throw strikes, which is a plus. At a young age,
Right.
I was always able to throw strikes, so it made me a little better than everybody at that time. But I just knew it was the best route for me. To go to college and try to play the pro game.
Yeah. So after high school, you go down to Shelby State?
Well, yeah, it's crazy how I got to Shelby State. In high school, I was a pretty good high school player. One of my good friends, Lane McCarter, his parents were moving to Memphis our senior year in high school. So his mom was working in Memphis and met a nice young lady, and they were just talking at work, and she was saying her husband coached this travel baseball team.
Uh-huh.
So come to find out, this is one of the biggest travel baseball teams in the state of Tennessee. We had no idea,
Right.
before internet, before cell phones, before any of that. So Lane's mom was like, hey, my son plays baseball, and one of his best friends play baseball. Let's get them a tryout. And the coach was kind of reluctant because this was like a big time program.
Right.
So we come down there. Lane and I get an invite. So they get us an invite. And I'm pretty sure, like when I was in school, the prom was Friday. Then we had a week off and then graduation. So we had prom on Friday. So we had to try out the next Saturday. So Lane and I went to eat with our dates and went to the prom for like 10 minutes, then got in the car and drove all the way to Memphis to practice the next day.
Right.
So we had a good practice, and they were like, okay, you guys come back next week and we'll have another practice. So we did the same thing. Came back home, practiced, and tried out the next weekend. So we did it again, drove down on Friday, came back. So then the next weekend was graduation on Friday. So that Saturday was the first game. So he was like, you guys need to come and try to get in the game and make this team. So go, graduation, drive that night, we played the next day. I had a starting pitcher for this team that was really good. He went to Ole Miss University and he got drafted. He played in the big leagues and he was a starting pitcher, the number one pitcher. And the coach, which he was actually the sponsor, and he was like, Matt's gonna throw first 2 innings, and then Mr. Martin, you got the next 2. I was like, okay. So Matt was just cruising, 1 inning up, 3 up, 3 down. Second inning, 3 up, 3 down. So I was supposed to get the 3rd and the 4th inning.
Right.
Matt was cruising. Matt go 3. Matt went to 4. Matt went to the 5th. So then it was like, hey, let's get Martin in, So I finally get in. Get my opportunity, and I have a 1, 2, 3 inning. The next inning, a 1, 2, 3 inning. So my friend gets in. The next game, it's a doubleheader. He gets a couple hits. So after the game, there's tons of scouts there and stuff, and I got a full ride off from Memphis State University just from that outing. And they were like, "Who is this kid?"
Right.
So. I got an offer that day, that was my first Division I offer that I really got, and it was from that tryout. But, I tell my kids all the time, I didn't have the ACT scores to go to Division I, so Shelby State's coach was there, and which was a junior college at the time, and so he was smart. He signed Lane, so I took my ACT one more time. I missed it again by a point or 2, I think, and then. So Shelby State offered me.
Oh, okay.
But he kind of backdoored in and he went and got my best friend. So then he came
Hoping
to me.
you would come along, right?
Yeah. So then, so that's what happened. Then I signed with Shelby State, and that's how I got to Memphis. And man, it was a great 2 years for me. I got drafted after my first year at Shelby State, and from there on, it was just it was a great experience for me.
Now, was the stage? It sounded like the stage wasn't too big with you. You went down, you tried out, you got in the game. You had your 1, 2, 3, couple 1, 2, 3 innings. So you could tell, hey, I can play with these guys.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of those guys were Division I signees.
Yeah.
They were all our age, 18. We had Mississippi State commits, Ole Miss commits, Memphis commits, and I knew I was right there with them. But you know, I didn't know that coming from McMinnville.
Right,
You know,
right.
but I knew I was good. I didn't know how good I was.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got there, I knew I could play with those guys, and those coaches knew that we could play with those guys. And it's like I said, in my kids today, it's just crazy that I go out there and throw 2 innings and I get a Division I offer. So they saw some talent in me, and to me, I was just playing the game.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to play, and so that summer, we had a great year. That summer, I also beat the #1 player in the nation, Todd Van Poppel. He was the first kid out of high school to sign for $1 million. So
Remember that name, yeah.
So Todd, he was from Dallas. We played them in a tournament in Michigan. You know, that's the first time I ever flown in a airplane was this summer ball.
Okay.
We flew. It was like we're going to Michigan to play in a big old tournament. So we go up there and play in this tournament, and it's tons of people there, like 700 people, and so it's me against Van Poppel, and everybody knew Van Poppel was the #1 player in the country, amateur player in the country. So it's crazy because the Braves had the #1 pick that year, and they wanted Van Poppel, but Van Poppel was telling them, "I'm not going to sign with the Braves." That's when the Braves were struggling.
We're struggling, yeah.
Yeah, in the late '80s, and then so the Braves take some guy named Chipper Jones.
So how did that work out for him, right?
Exactly. So they took Chipper Jones, and then Van Poppel ends up getting drafted 14th to the Oakland A's, and he signed with the University of Texas, but he signed with them, and he first got to get $1 million signing bonus. So you know, I played some big time guys, and you know I was right there with them, and so. But like I said, it was competition.
Yeah.
You know, it was competition.
Yeah. Now, who's the coach at Warren County High when you were there?
Ronnie Brown.
Okay.
And assistant coach was Jimmy Walker and Bobby Cox.
So
yeah.
he was the assistant coach. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, because sometimes it seems like as you start to step up those levels, you know, even coming through like Pee Wee League up to the different leagues as a youth, you know, there's those folks that start to sort of wash out. They just can't make that next step up. But it seemed like all the way through, because I looked at some of your stats at Shelby State, and you was tearing it up, you know, at that first year, you know.
Yeah.
So you had that talent going in.
Right. And that's the thing about it. When you have the talent, you know, you got to be able to use it. You know, and I tell people all the time, I don't think I'm nowhere near the best athlete, but I was a pretty good baseball player.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I knew the game, I studied the game, and I loved the game. You know, I loved to play the game. So that made me, you know, just as athletic ability, I probably wasn't there. A lot of guys throw mid-90s. You know, I was probably high 80s, low 90s at my max. But, you know, I worked on command and throwing change-ups and off-speed pitches. So, yeah, I mean, I had it. You know, I didn't want to let it slide, my talent slide. So, but it was easy. If you're doing something you love, man, you know, it's not work, you know. So I loved every minute of it.
How important is it to be a student of the game? You mentioned that, you know, there are people who, through the years in different sports, who were maybe not the most athletic or not the tallest or the quickest or whatever, but they studied the game and they really studied their opponent's weaknesses and tried to exploit those weaknesses and things. That's important, huh?
It's very important. You know, first you got to find your strengths.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, my strength has to be better than their strength.
Right.
You know, so I knew what I was really good at. So when I mastered that, then I would notice somebody else's weakness and I would try to attack that. But it's very important. I use it today coaching-wise, man. You know, I tell girls all the time, I wasn't a good hitter, but I can get you out. You know?
Right.
So I tell my girls, hey, I might not can tell you how to hit, but I know how they're going to approach to get you out. So it goes a long way.
So that mental part of the game is just as important as the physical part.
Yeah.
And maybe even more important in some aspect. There's guys that I know you've seen, and probably ladies too, that you say they got all kind of talents. They got the physical attributes. They check off every box, but for some reason, as they say, their head just isn't right.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, in the sport of baseball and softball is mental. You know, and I tell my kids all the time that, you know, if you fail in baseball and softball, you know, 70% of the time you're great. You know, and I tell them, think about that. I said, you're going to get out 7 out of 10 times, and you're going to be great.
Yeah.
So that's the part when, you know, they strike out or get an out. It's like, keep your head up. You know, you're supposed to. You know, this is a tough game. It's tough mentally. So, you know, that's part of it. You got to be mentally tough to be a really good ball player. And, you know, so that's part of the game that a lot of people don't notice.
Yeah. So you're at Shelby State, and then the draft comes around. Did you have a pretty good indication that you were going to go?
I don't know if I had an indication, but I remember in high school, my senior year, which was 1990, a scout came to watch me pitch.
Right.
It was freezing cold, like it is every spring here, and I think I was throwing like 78, and I guess that kind of turned him away.
Okay.
You know, and so I go to Shelby State, have a good year. You know, I think some scouts notice. They come and look at, you know, they look at everything, look at your frame and, you know, everything. They like my frame. I was tall and lanky and loose, and they like that. But, you know, they came to me and told me, you know, if we draft you, we're going to let you go to college one more year, and then we will, you know, make you an offer, which I was fine with that, you know.
Right.
So that next summer, my coach calls me. My college coach calls me, John Jarnigan. He was, and I'm here at home in town, and he's like, hey, there's an Olympic tryout for the Olympic team. I want you to come and try out. I'm like, Olympic team? He said, yeah. It's like, okay. So, you know, here I am, 18, 19 years old. So now I got to drive to Memphis by myself, you know. You know, before GPS,
Right.
you know, before all that stuff. So I pack up my mom's car and I drive to Memphis and I try out for the Olympic team. And like I said, there was tons of kids there, tons of kids, and a bunch of Division I guys there. There was like juniors in college and stuff. And here I am, just a freshman out of junior college.
Right.
Played, got to get in the game. You know, I made the first 2 cuts, which is kind of unheard of for just a guy that just walked up there and tried out. So what came out of that was there was a coach at Long Beach State there, and he called my my college coach and asked him, you know, who's this kid and can I get his contact information? So he called me and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, I want you to come out to Long Beach State for a visit. But me being just young and naive, I was afraid to go to California. You know, I kick myself in the butt all the time for not doing that. But,
Right.
you know, I didn't go to California, but he was like, hey, there's this team in Texas, a summer ball team, a wood bat league. We'd like for you to come to Texas and play in it. So I was like, sure. So I moved to Amarillo, Texas that summer, and I stayed with a host family, real nice to me. And again, we got there, big time guys there. You know, I fit right in, you know, and so just me and the guys and coaches were talking one day, and they asked me what round did I get drafted in? And I'm like, oh, I think the 49th or 42nd round. And they were like, if it was in Texas, you'd be a top 10 round pick. And I'm like, what? They was like, yeah, you got all the talent. You got the frame, you got everything. So, you know, I went there that summer and had a good summer, competed well. And so I got on the radar then with some more teams in the draft. So, you know, it's like I tell everybody, you don't know when you're going to get that one chance. You got to make the most of it. Yeah. So, you know, I went there that summer, had a great summer, played a lot of baseball, met some friends, you know. So it was real high-level competition. So, like I said, I fit in well, and then I think I handled myself really good.
So that path sort of that you took is pretty much based on the fact of your talent and thing. I mean, most players wouldn't have those kind of opportunities. I mean, the Olympics, trying out for the Olympics team?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be on that radar at some point, obviously.
Yeah, and that's what it takes, one person to like you or see something in you.
Right.
You know, and that's what happened to me. Like I said, I'm from Mcmillan, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then I get a chance to go to the Olympic team, and, you know, they have 2 cuts, and I make the first 2 cuts, you know, and I get cut the very last cut, which I was a long shot probably, you know, but I was there, and some coaches seen me, and, you know, they got me in the summer team in Texas, and around a lot of scouts and a lot of, you know, Division I coaches there. So, yes.
So you were sort of playing under the big spotlights for a while. So, I mean, it wasn't like, you know, you went from Mcmillan to, you know, some big, you know, stadium to play before a major league crowd kind of thing. But you were playing in those, for your age and your position at that point, you were already sort of playing under the big stars. So you had that part of it down. That would probably be the most intimidating part for me, to go from Mcmillan, Tennessee, and you're playing with guys who are older than you, guys who are, you know, like I said, already in college, and you seem like it didn't intimidate you at all.
No, I mean, like I said, I was just playing a game that I loved, you know, and all I was doing, what my talent was going out there pitching and competing, and it didn't really faze me. Like, I didn't, I didn't see those guys as big time guys. I just saw them as regular players.
Now you're looking at getting drafted.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned about Van Poppel telling the Braves, "Don't draft me." It's sort of like who was it? John Elway back in the day that told that team, "Don't draft me," because I'm not coming. What was your feeling? Were you more of a, if I get drafted by whoever in the world, I'm going, or was there a certain team maybe you wanted to go to?
No, I was like, whoever drafts me, I'm going.
That's fine.
I'm gonna get a chance to play pro ball.
Right.
I had one goal that I was gonna get to the big leagues and
Right.
take care of my mom and everything. That was my one dream, my one goal. So whenever I got drafted, I was going. No matter what. So Texas gave me a chance, and they were good to me. I had some really good years with those guys. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. I got drafted in '91. I signed in '92. So they called me and asked me, "Hey, do you want to go to Butte, Montana, or do you want to go to Florida?" And I'm like, "Florida." Florida, which I didn't know at the time that Butte, Montana was a step above.
Oh, okay.
Florida, which I didn't know that.
Right.
I just wanted to go to Florida.
Florida,
in the
right.
sun. So I go to Florida in rookie ball in '92. I have a pretty good year. At that time, I was 20. I was 20.
Okay.
So the thing about it was, it's like our high single A team was also in the same city. So at the end of the year, you get called up to, the big league roster extends to 40. So they take guys from AAA up, and guys from AA go to AAA, and guys from single A go to AA. So I was in low A, so I got to go to high A.
Okay.
At the time, I'm 20 years old. I'm the youngest guy on the team.
Okay.
So I'm playing with these guys. Like I said, they're a little bit older than I am, and I'm starting pitcher. So I'm in there, and next thing you know, we're coming down a race in the playoffs. So I was like, man, So I want to say I threw 3 games. I think I threw 1 shutout, and we clinched the division. So we was going to the playoffs. But the funny thing about it was those guys had a party. And I couldn't go because I was 20. I was the only one that couldn't go.
Right.
So everybody else got to go to the party, and I just sit up in my hotel room. But that was a good year for me. I learned a lot that year. That was, like I said, that was '92. So then in '93, I went to Charleston, South Carolina, and played in the Short A league up there. I pitched over 100 innings, had 100 strikeouts there. And then, '94 is when I really broke out and had a really good year. '94, I went up, but actually back to Port Charlotte, Florida, with a high A team. And, I was made the All-Star team for the Rangers, and, Derek Jeter was there for the Yankees.
No, okay.
Yeah, and there was a lot of big league guys that was there. I got to pitch in the All-Star game in Port St. Lucie, Florida. So I got 1 inning in, and, everybody was throwing 1 inning. So it was great to get, for that experience. And that was the year I made the big league roster. So in '94, I made the Texas Rangers big league roster. Unfortunately, went on strike that year.
Yeah.
So that set me back, and then, everything happens for a reason. Then, I think the next year, '95, is they cleaned house. The Rangers cleaned house with everybody in the minor leagues. New manager, big league, Buck Showalter come over, and they just cleaned house. So just some of those guys that saw my growth those couple of years, they were gone.
They were gone. Yeah.
And then the new people wanted some of their people in. Yeah. So, ended up playing 2 more years. Got to AA. Had some good years up there. Actually made the playoffs. Played against Cat Walker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cat was in Jackson with the Astros. So played Cat in the playoffs. So that was fun.
Yeah, I bet it was.
So pro ball was good to me. I loved every minute of it. Met some friends that we battled together. Some of those guys made the big leagues, and a lot of them didn't. So it was a great experience. One of my stories is when you get to minor leagues, you room with other guys. You don't make a lot of money. So
Right.
It's probably 4 of you to a 2-bedroom apartment. You share a room and split all the bills. So, I drove. I had a car, so I drove to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And one of my roommates, a really good friend of mine, he was from Los Angeles. His name was Ramiro Martinez. You know, he was Mexican, and so my other roommate was Hanley Frias. You know, he was Dominican. Had another roommate was Puerto Rican, and we had another guy from Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving to the game, and you know, I got 3 of those guys in the back and 1 guy in the front, and I'm driving, and my friend Ramiro from Los Angeles, he spoke English and Spanish, and I'm just driving on the interstate in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 94, and I was looking at him, and I was like, "Hey, Ramiro, translate something for those guys." And he said, "Okay." I said, "Tell those guys I'm from Mcmillan, Tennessee. Never in my wildest dream I think I'd have a Mexican, a Cuban, a Puerto Rican, and a Dominican in my car." And I told them that, man, we laughed so hard, but I never dreamed of that,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And we become really good friends, and it was crazy. You know, it was a great ride.
Yeah. Because people talk about sort of the life in the minors, you know, that it's just maybe as glamorous as you would think, you know, the long trips between, because sometimes the minor league teams are farther apart, you know,
Yes.
and you know, if you do have maybe a bus, you know, it's on the bus versus flying and things of that nature. Looking back, did that really bother you, or you just thought that that's part of it? That's just part of it.
That was part of it.
That's part
you know,
of it.
I loved being there.
Yeah,
You know, I went
yeah.
to the park every day happy.
Right.
And you know, we'd play probably 28, 29 days a month, and the one day was off would be a travel day. You know, that would be the 16-hour drive cross country.
Oh, wow.
So you know, we would just sleep on the bus. You know, I didn't think it was rough, you know, and I don't think any of the guys there. We always trying to get to the big leagues and do whatever it takes. But, you know, we didn't get many rainouts, you know, so we played a lot of games, you know, a lot of summers. But it is true, the long bus rides and you know, the hotel rooms and, you know, the showers and stuff were not the best at the old parks, you know. So, but yeah, I lived it, and, you know, it was tough at times, but not, you know, I look back now and said it was just, I was a kid. I probably couldn't do it now.
Right, right.
You know, but back then it didn't bother me a bit.
So was it 94, 95 time frame? You had some shoulder
It was
issues?
95, actually,
95.
after the short striking season, warming up, get ready to go on the game, and at that time I was floating between starting and bullpen, and just felt a pop in my shoulder, and didn't feel good. And so I went and talked to the trainer, and I guess by the time I had got off the field to the field, I had some swelling in the back of my shoulder. So he takes me in the training room and says, "Oh man, you know, I think you've torn your labrum, you know." And then so I tore my labrum, and also when they got in there, I had torn my bicep tendon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that, you know, I come back from that, you know, really wasn't the same. So, you know, that was 96 maybe, and then the Rangers let me go. I had a friend that I played ball with in the minor leagues. He was playing in Texas, so he gets the manager to call me. I go to Texas and play and have a pretty good summer. I'm trying to rehab and get back there, get back to my old self.
Right.
And then the next year I get a call from Darrell Evans, who was a big leaguer. He was managing a team in New York, and I go there.
Same Darrell Evans that played with the Braves?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a
Same
big
Darrell
Braves
Evans.
fan. That's all we knew back in the day with
Yeah.
the Braves.
Yeah, Darrell
Okay,
Evans. So
okay.
Darrell Evans called me and said, "Get your butt up here and let's play." So I played, and at the time my daughter was about to be born, you know, and I'm like, this is not where I need to be, you know. So I think there was some kids come in all the time trying out,
Right.
you know, and I went to the managers like, "Hey man, it's just time for me to go." You know, I said, "I'm gonna go home and be a dad," and you know, I had a nice run. It wasn't worth it, and this was an independent league. It wasn't the same as, you know, the minor leagues.
Right.
It was a minor leagues, but not a team affiliated with it.
Right.
So these young kids were coming in, and I remember being one of those young kids, you know, and I'm just like, "Hey man, I'm just gonna go home and be a dad," and so that's what I did, and you know, so that's the way it ended for me.
Was it hard to say? It sounded like it wasn't that hard. Once, like I said, with the family,
Yeah.
you know, sort
No,
of pulling
I mean,
at you.
It wasn't. I mean, the most important to me was raising my daughter
Yeah.
at the time, you know. So, I mean, I had a good run, 6 years of minor league baseball, but, you know, father is way more important than that.
Well,
you know.
I admire you for saying
Yeah.
that. There's, there's so many athletes that, as you know, hang on well past their prime and
Right.
go out, you know, with their reputation a little tarnished, or the guys who sort of forgo the family and, you know, do whatever they got to do to try to hang on, you know.
Right.
So I really admire you for saying that.
Yeah,
that,
and like I said, and that's what I want. I mean, you know, so at the time I just wanted to be there for her, you know, because took a lot of time away, you know, from here and from her. It just wasn't worth it at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I like I said, I had a good run, and you know, I gave my best shot.
Yeah, and you know you gave it your
Yeah.
best shot. You had those good years and things of that nature, so it probably made it a little bit easier. But I know it wasn't, you know,
Right.
the easiest decision, because you always think, well, maybe tomorrow something will happen, and
Yeah.
I'll, you know, and I'll just whatever, you know, the arm will be better or
Right.
whatever. But I can understand that. But like I said, I really admire you for saying that. So once you decided, you came back to Mcmillan.
Yes.
And during that interim time, what was you into at that point?
I don't know. I was going crazy. You know, I played ball my whole life, and all of a
Right.
sudden it was gone from me.
Right.
So I worked at a school in Nashville, behavior school. I went with my friend Billy Rutledge.
Okay,
With
yeah.
him and some Nashville cats.
Mm-hmm.
We worked at this behavior school in Nashville. We loved every minute of it. So, you know, after that, you know, my daughter was born, so I finally got on at Carrier. I applied to get on at Carrier down here, and I got on at Carrier, which is really good to me. So I worked at Carrier for like a year and a half, and then I became a supervisor.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing until the plant closed. And so when the plant closed, I was just working and raising a family. And then the plant closed, so I went back to school. Got my associates from Montlow here in town, which I didn't need much because, you know, I was at Shelby State.
Right, right.
I got my associates, and then one of my friends come to me and says, "Hey, you want to help coach?" I'm like, "Well, you know, I got a little time, you know."
Right.
Laid off from work and just going to school. So that's when I got into coaching. Yeah.
And did you have any desires to coach before they approached you?
I think so.
Really? You sort of wanna go that way,
I
yeah.
think I wanted to go to school and be a teacher.
Teacher?
Just to coach maybe. You know, I think that was something that I wanted to do, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a thought.
And you seem like you have that kind of demeanor to be a good coach. You know, there's some players who can't coach because they can't understand why the athletes aren't as good as they are, or can't pick it up like they did, kind of thing. But you seem like you have that kind of demeanor that would be ideal to be a coach.
Perfect example was at softball. I had one of my coaches. Her name was Lindsay Cornelius Youngblood.
Uh-huh.
Great player. She's one of the top 40 athletes in Warren County. I asked her to come help me coach, and you know, she come help me coach for a year, and she was a great soccer player and a good softball player. And he was just tearing her up one day. These kids, they don't get it. I said, Lindsay, they're not as good as you. You know, it's different.
Right,
I mean, they do
right.
not love it, breathe it, eat it like you did. So that takes some adjusting to, you know, and I noticed that too when I was assistant coach. I was like, man, these kids are different. You know, I'd go crazy and I'd run through the wall, but you know, these kids don't love it, and they don't have the same energy as the ones that wanted to be great. But they're
Right.
still good kids. That don't
Right,
mean they're
right.
not good kids. They just don't have that love for it, you know, like most of the great ones have.
Do you see your players, some that they have it, but they just seem like they just don't have that motivation or that whatever to sort of bring it out, that you just want to sort of go in there and pull it out of them sometimes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can have those kids that have it, but there's so many distractions now.
Boy,
you know,
yeah.
way more now than it was when we was in school.
Sure.
You know, they got that cell phone. They can get anything anywhere in the world with that cell phone.
Right,
You know,
right.
talk to their friends. You know, do this and do that. So that's tough. And when I got to high school, you know, they want to drive. You know, and so there's a lot of distractions from the ones. I mean, I say the numbers of girls and boys when I coach high school boys too were just, you know, you got a team of 20. Probably when I played, 16 or 18 kids loved it. You know, now it's probably 9 or 10 or 12 that really love it. You know, and that's okay. You know, that's okay too.
Yeah, because I mean, you're gonna have those different levels of players, different levels of abilities and things of that nature. But you know, I'm sure I was talking to a good friend of mine, Jeff Martin. You know, I was talking to him, and he was talking about when he was coaching football at Warren County. He said he'd see these guys walk in the hallways and thinking, God, just come on the field, just come on out, just come out. We'll,
Yeah.
but they just didn't have that desire to do that. And
Right.
like you said, there's a lot more distractions way more than back in the day when I was coming through. So I know that makes a difference. And I'm sure you see a lot of our future leaders, our young kids that when you coach, if there's something you would tell the youth of today, what would it be? What would any kind of advice you would give them? Say, start right now preparing for later life by doing this or these things.
I was telling them to work hard and be honest. The truth hurts. If I'm telling my kids that, they're not the best player or they need to work on this, not to hurt their feelings, it's telling them the truth.
Right.
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 And I think they respect that. When I tell them, hey, you need to work on this, or you're not gonna get a lot of playing time. So I just be honest with them. You got to be honest and you got to put in the work. And nothing is easy. They're not just gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
So
How much longer you think you're gonna coach?
I don't know.
It seemed like you enjoyed it. It brings a smile to your face.
I
when I asked you
I
that.
really do like it. I got my first head coaching job in 2010.
Right.
So, I'm still going. I got that job at the middle school. I like it. I tell everybody it's year to year. When I have really good kids, it's hard for me to leave really good kids.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, which I got really good parents. 95% of my parents are great. It'll be parents that probably run me off, at one point,
Right.
But I've been blessed. I've had really good parents in high school and middle school. I've had really good parents. The majority of my parents have been really good. So that makes it easier, makes it easier too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I mean to ask you before now even. When you came back to Mcmillan, did you play in like any of the rec leagues or anything around here, or you just sort of like, yeah, that's it?
No, I didn't play any kind of baseball.
Did you play anything at all? Softball?
No.
Oh, I could see them coming and say,
Yeah.
come on, you need to go play some softball
No,
with us.
I played probably one tournament. I was like, that's not for me. So I didn't play. I used to
Right.
play. We played basketball at the Civic Center, the
Right.
Industrial League. I like doing that.
Right.
But no, I didn't play any softball. I bet I've probably played maybe 5 softball games my whole life.
Oh, okay.
So, but no, I didn't play a lot of pickup softball.
Yeah, I just was curious about it to ask you when you were talking earlier, because sometimes, like you said, when they let it go, they let it go.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, that's all in the past kind of thing. And the reason I thought about that was I read that article a couple of weeks back where Serena Williams was saying she would never be her daughter's tennis coach because she said, I don't like playing tennis with people who don't know how to play tennis, and I guess she gets paired up with celebrities and things
Right.
like that. She said she hates that. And I know sometimes it's hard to say, no, man, I sort of played at that top level. I ain't gonna go out there with Joe amateurs kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's why I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I did play one tournament.
Right.
Some good friends of mine, they got a team up to go to the state tournament. And I was still playing ball then, though.
Right.
And so I wouldn't play with those guys. I wouldn't play shortstop. Even though I was a pitcher
Right.
in the pro ball, I was a shortstop for them. And
Right.
we went and had a good time. A bunch of our cousins all went to Chattanooga. We didn't do too good, but we had a good time.
Had a good time.
Yeah, had a good time.
Had a good time.
Had a good time.
All right. Well, Gooby, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
I really, really appreciate it. And best of luck to you in your coaching career and any of the future endeavors you may have. As I said, I see your eyes light up and that smile come when you talk about things. And when you talk about your past, I can see you're very comfortable with how things went for you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you for joining us today. I'm Mickey Gwynn, and join us for the next edition of Soul of Warren County. Until then, make this day and every day a great day.